everyone, welcome back to the RMTV Women's Podcast. This is episode 90, which is a bit mad. 90 is a big number. It's a lot.
We're almost at 100.
Almost there, almost at 100. We'll kick off this week's podcast with some good news, is that Niamh Fahey has extended her contract at Liverpool. She will be with us next season. It was announced on Tuesday, so that was yesterday, because it's Wednesday today. But yeah, just it's been a really difficult week since the announcement of obviously the season's being finished and Liverpool getting relegated and all that bad news. A handful of players leaving, but it's nice that Fahey's extended her stay. We know she'll be there next season. I'm particularly very happy about that because I love Niamh. But yeah, it was just a nice little bit of news to start off this week, wasn't it?
Yeah, I feel like they timed it quite well. They let the dust settle and then bam, here's some good news. And I think we were definitely in need of some good news. I think it was just a horrible week last week when it all went down, and it was, even for us, it was hard to sort of know what sort of to do next. We didn't know whether to keep putting content out there or do we take a break. And I think personally for both of us, probably was nice to just have a few days just to get it out and just come to terms with the whole fact that we were getting relegated. So I think this is our first video since it was announced, so we've had
apart from the ones we did with Emma and that, this is the first one that we've been able to just talk.
Yeah, we just took a a few days or whatever. Obviously you had your birthday as well, so we took some time to just chill out and come to terms with it. And I think we have now. I think it's definitely not all doom and gloom, and the news like this just makes it 10 times better. And I just loved the comments that she was saying in that video. I think she did with, was it Steve Hunter, who does all the videos with them, and she was saying I just feel so made up every time I put on the Liverpool shirt, and to have someone finally say something good about the club after it's just been dragged through the mud recently. I think it was really refreshing, and it just makes you remember this is a good club. Okay, we're not in the place that we want to be at the moment, but that shirt is still powerful and it still drags people towards the club. So I think definitely not all doom and gloom. No. And I think it was definitely some news that we needed after a tough few days.
Yeah, she's a really big Red as well. She's been a Liverpool fan since she was younger, so it's probably a dream. Well, she did say it's a dream for her to be able to walk out and the shirt on and stuff like that. And plus she knows she's been in this squad for 2 seasons now. She's vice captain. She's not just there just to. She's obviously there just to play, but she's also a really key figure of that squad. And
she's invested, isn't she? She's invested in this club. She doesn't just play for it. She sort of lives for it.
Yeah. She's there not just for herself now. She's there for other people as well, and for the club. So yeah, it was really, really nice news. One thing that we seen today, I think it was Craig Hadley who sent it to us, was TalkSport have a women's football weekly podcast, and Sweetman-Kirk tuned in on the latest episode, and they were just asking her about footy in general, and then they said to her, obviously you've left Liverpool now, and asked her to sort of give her a bit of a comment on that. One thing she said was, we didn't win enough games, didn't perform as well as we should have done, which I think a lot of players, I think pretty much the whole squad would agree with that, and managers in the back would agree with that. Ultimately you have to win games to get points, and we didn't win enough. She did point out one of her issues due to leaving the club is that she didn't feel like there was a one club mentality. That's sort of that phrase has been thrown about all season, one club mentality. They obviously had the picture at the start of the season with the 2 teams together, and that sort of gave us a bit of a message of that, they were gonna invest more, not just money, just in terms of time and everything else, more into the women's game. But obviously that hasn't been the case. I mean, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but from an outsider looking in, that doesn't seem to be what's going on. And she pointed out that one of her issues was that the new training facility at Kirby wasn't going to be a place for the women's squad. And that's something that me and you have both expressed our opinions on, is that we don't agree with that at all. If you're giving off this one club mentality, make it one club.
Make it happen sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a multi-million-pound complex at Kirby, and you're telling me that there's no space for the women's team to go there. She pointed out that they play at Prenton Park, which is over the water, which isn't in Liverpool. There's just things like that obviously it's just built up over time, and they've seen firsthand that they're not given the same opportunities as what the men's team are given, and obviously that's an issue.
Yeah, I think we completely agree with her on that front, and I wouldn't say we've been overly outspoken about it, but we've definitely brought this up in conversation, whether that's privately between me and you or between others that we speak to, or whether that has actually been on the podcast. It's been something that we've spoken about, and it's been something that to this day I still massively disagree with.
Yeah.
And I think you'll agree with me on that one.
Thanks.
I think she made a good point, because I listened to it this morning before we came. I didn't actually know that she was on it. I knew she was on some Sky's thing, but I didn't know she was actually on TalkSport. So it was nice to sort of get sent that. So thank you for sending us it, because I probably wouldn't have seen it otherwise, and that's just purely because I'm absolutely terrible online. But no, I don't listen to podcasts, and that's silly because I have a podcast. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. But either way, she was saying that she didn't feel like the women's were part of the club, and especially she didn't see Liverpool women and how they would sort of be integrated with the men's vision going forward. And I think that's a fair comment in some aspects, because as you said, a multi-million complex, and you literally just said it the way I would have said it. You're telling me that they can't manage to fit Liverpool women within that. They're a squad as they are. We're not asking the whole of the Liverpool Women Academy to go in there. It's not a giant club in terms of the women's. We never have had a massive club, especially not in the last few years in terms of personnel. With a small staff sort of group and a small squad, that's how it's been. So she sort of questioned where do women actually sit in the club?
Yeah.
And she's obviously seen the likes of Manchester City, how they fit in within that sort of model. Obviously Everton recently have changed to adapt to a more one team mentality, and she's probably thought, well, Liverpool aren't really doing that, and they're not. They seem to be, it's almost like they're seeming to want to do it, but something's holding it back, and I don't know what that thing is. But to me, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be involved in the Kirby setup, because I think it would have been a perfect opportunity to go, look, right, we care about this women's team, we care about the women's league and the competitiveness of it, and we're going to do something about it. And I think that's probably a big reason why we've seen a lot of players be released recently, whether the fact that they're not believing in that vision of the women's team being part of a long-term vision within Liverpool Football Club as a whole, and that might well be a reason as to why it's happening.
Yeah, I definitely think that's probably been in a lot of the players' minds the entirety of the season, because I go back to when Niamh Fahey was put in charge, and then he left on the basis of he was promised things that weren't going to materialise, and at that time we didn't look at it as probably as something big as what it was. But now when you think about it, it's well, he was probably right. They were probably said we were going to do this and this, or maybe he maybe he got the wrong end of the stick. You don't know what happened, but he was clearly promised things that weren't going to happen, and he jumped ship straight away. I think with obviously with Vicky, she's Liverpool through and through. She's been there for so many years, and she loves the club, so she's not just gonna get off when the going gets tough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and you've got to respect the players' decisions. They want to be playing for a team that gives the 110% to their women's team, and if that's not what Liverpool are going to do, then you're not shocked that players like Christy Money, who's a Scotland international, is going to go, well, I'm going to go and find somewhere that's that's better suits me. Do you know
Well,
what I mean?
the thing is, there are clubs that are doing it. That's the problem, and in itself, that probably makes those other clubs look more attractive to play for than Liverpool, and that to me is a big issue going forward now, especially when we need to be signing top class players, because the Championship is not going to be a breeze, and it's going to be really, really difficult and a test of character. So we need to bring in that personnel to help us out.
And one other thing I think about is like we should be competing with teams like Chelsea, City, Arsenal. We were back-to-back champions, and instead of us investing a lot into the women's team and seeing where it can grow, it's just sort of stopped. It's like, oh, well, we won 2 back-to-back, so that's okay. And then look at us.
Like a tick box sort of thing.
Yeah, and then look at where we are now. Imagine if in that moment, no one could have foreseen where women's football would be today, and it's still got so much more it can do. But it's obviously growing massively. But imagine if Liverpool were a part of that. Like when I know City got a lot of money, they got their training complex. Chelsea are very well looked after. Arsenal are very well looked after. Everton have now all of a sudden come onto the scene. A lot of the clubs in the league are well looked after. But you look at us and like people do laugh and think, oh, well, what's happened to Liverpool there? Like what's going on? Because you're never going to reach the heights of Chelsea, City, Arsenal, all those teams who are winning back-to-back and always in the Champions League or getting to, quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals of cups. You're not going to get there unless you get the investment.
No, and that's pretty much the headline in terms of what fans and what just football people in general are trying to say. Like, you don't get to go to be in these massive competitions without putting in the groundwork first, and I think that's definitely something that Liverpool are going to have to look into, because if you've got ex-players now coming out and saying, look, it was a problem, I was affected by it, then what's going to be the pull for new players to come in?
Yeah,
that's the kind of angle that I'm looking at it from. If you've got players openly coming out, and she, in all fairness, she could have been a lot harsher, but she sort of said a lot of home truths, I think. And as much as it was hard to hear someone that we followed and we loved seeing her play week in, week out, to say something about the club that's so close to your heart, it's quite like, it's like, wow, that's a bit of a hard pill to swallow sort of thing.
Yeah, the kick in the teeth, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's never nice, and fair play to her to coming out and saying something, because maybe that's what needs to be done.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they just, I think a lot of home truths, a lot of realizations are going to be happening within the club probably as we're speaking right now. I think the upper management have probably seen the absolute outroar. Like, in all fairness, when the news broke, no one was talking about Chelsea being champions. Everyone was talking about Liverpool getting relegated. So that tells you quite a lot about what the whole women's football community thought about it. So they've definitely got a few answers to sort of try and
they've got a few questions that need to be answered.
Think of a solution, how to make the situation better.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Kelly Smith.
But we'll just have to see what happened.
The video like froze, so I don't know.
I was so confused what just happened then. We'll just cut that bit out.
Kelly Smith has obviously come out and given her thoughts on the whole PPG of the league and stuff like that. She said it seems to always happen that the women get pushed aside a bit. I was hearing figures of 3 million and upwards for testing and putting procedures in place just to get back into training. Is that working? Because mine's going like that weird.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I was like, I can just like hear like little noises.
Oh no, I can't hear anything.
All right. Yeah, 3 million upwards for testing and putting procedures in place just to get back into training. I would prefer that they had gone down the route of putting the money in and making it more of a level playing field with the men. And it's absolutely right, because you've got leagues in this country that have just been voided altogether. You've got our league that's finished on PPG, but then the Premier League's okay to return. And that's basically down to the fact that those clubs and the clubs in the Premier League have got the money to be able to test players on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But how is it fair that you avoid one league, you PPG another one, and then you continue with the other one? Like, there's no consistency across the board, and I think that's what the main issue is with fans and obviously people involved in the industry, that it's like, well,
Players as well.
Yeah, why is it one rule for one and one rule for another?
Yeah, it's really, it's quite sad. I think I saw a tweet from Rince from Liverpool, and she was saying, all I ask is for people to be consistent across the board, and I think that's more than fair to say, because it is so inconsistent. And I know this is completely like unknown territory, like there's no rule book for this sort of situation, so the FA are sort of having to make it up as they go along. But the fact that you can say, okay, yeah, that league's null and void, okay, yeah, that can go ahead, no, we're just going to stop that one, PPG, whatever, it just doesn't seem right, doesn't seem fair. So I agree with what they're saying, and I ultimately, we've said this so many times, it comes down to money, and the Women's League, probably some of them would have been able to do it. I think Liverpool would have been able to do it. I think the top teams would have been able to do it, but others then could have found themselves financially unstable, going into bankruptcy, administration, all those kind of things. So there really is two sides to every story, but I agree with it's not great to be inconsistent, and the FA definitely have been.
Yeah. And then she also said, I do feel an injustice for Liverpool being relegated, because they would have felt like they could have got out of that situation at the bottom of the league with about 8 games to go. I also feel sorry for Arsenal because they missed out on a Champions League spot. It's a sad way to end the season. Certain clubs are going to be hurting because of that. Yeah, like we obviously spoke mainly about Liverpool, but you've got to feel harsh on City. You know, they were top of the table when all this happened. Arsenal could have got a Champions League spot. You know, we could have stayed up. There's so many things that could have been so much different. But yeah, like you said, like no one could, you know, expect a global pandemic to be the thing that ends the season. And you obviously got to do the best thing for like the safety of like players and fans and whatnot. But yeah, it's just like, I think the way that described is just so bizarre, because at 1 minute I'm thinking, no, that was wrong to do that, and then the next minute I'm like, yeah, but then you've got to think about this, and you've got to think about this. Like, you can't, like, it's like I said, no one's going to be happy with the outcome, because everyone's going to have an issue. And she's right, like, Arsenal were hard done by as well. I think everyone in the league was hard done by.
Well, apart from Chelsea, but
apart from Chelsea, you know, because they got the title, like, they'll obviously be a bit like, oh, okay.
I think they probably still have a sense of,
they'll feel
a bit like, oh, well, that's not really the way we wanted to. It's like we're like over the moon that we've won, but that's not really the way that we wanted to showcase our talent and win. But like, as well, this was the first season that proper had prize money as well. And a lot of clubs were probably investing more, because they knew at the end of it they'd be able to get some money out of it with the chance of winning. Is it 100? Is it 100k? 100 grand? Yeah.
Which,
but
by the way,
that anyway.
Be more. 100k.
Oh yeah, it should be more. But like for the first year, like fair play.
Yeah, fair play.
But that also could have backfired in some of the team's financial plans, because they've spent so much money on players at the start of the year, going, okay, well, we think we're going to win, so if we win, we'll get some money back for the players that we've already bought. So all of that thing sort of comes into play. But yeah, I think no one is going to be 100% happy with what has happened. But equally, it's happened now, and it's just sort of how all these teams bounce back, not just Liverpool, but everyone.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Chelsea and the prize money, they've done a really nice thing, and they've donated their 100k prize money to a charity called Refuge, which is a domestic abuse charity. They said it's a charity that's close to the hearts and minds of the women's team, and is very important to our owner, Mr. Abramovich, and everyone at the club. It makes me proud our club is supporting those less fortunate in times of need, and that was comments from Niamh Fahey. It was a really nice gesture, because obviously, like we've just said, you know, prize money for teams, I don't think Chelsea necessarily would have been counting on that prize money, because obviously they're well funded, But other teams, you know, would have been really happy with that 100 grand. But yeah, really nice gesture from Chelsea to do that, because, you know, they could have easily have kept it and just, you know, gone about the business with it.
Yeah, for sure. I think it probably plays in the back of their head the way the end leagued as well.
Yeah.
The league ended, sorry. But I think that's such a nice touch, and I think those who support the club will be like, would be proud of that. And I think if Liverpool would have done the same thing, I'd have been absolutely over the moon about it, because especially during like lockdown, the domestic abuse levels have like increased massively. So it's a very current topic, and it's something that I think's such an amazing gesture. But as you said, I think it sets a tone for a lot of clubs, and it's a great something great to do, obviously. So.
Definitely. A bit about Women's World Cup then. Obviously they need to decide where the 2023 World Cup is going to be hosted. It was Australia, New Zealand, Japan and Brazil are like the three countries who were involved in getting it. But Brazil have thrown a bit of a spanner in the works now and said, we're exiting, we're not going to do it due to like economic support from the government could not be guaranteed for it, which is like a shame, because, you know, Brazil's like an amazing country and stuff like that. So it would have been nice to have like a Women's World Cup there, but that now leaves Australia, New Zealand and then Japan sort of fighting for it. And I think Australia, New Zealand is sort of like, it's just like pipping Japan for that at the minute. I think a lot of the reaction is everyone wants it in that country.
I'd love it there. Imagine if we got to go.
I know. But like, it's so mad that you've got like all this going on now, but then you've got to try and plan for the 2023 World Cup, which, like, now that I'm thinking about it, isn't actually that far away, because we're in 2020. It's only
and we've got Euros and the Olympics, so every single year is going to be like
literally. So like next summer you're gonna have Olympics and men's Euros. The summer after you're gonna have the women's Euros, and then the summer after you're gonna have the Women's World Cup. Then there'll be a men's World Cup thrown in there somewhere. I don't know when that is. Is it 2022?
We can't complain that we're bored now.
No, that you're actually gonna have something to do. The lack of sport the last like 3 months is being made up for in the next like 3 years.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's fine. That's absolutely
fine.
With that.
I'm happy about that.
Yeah, let us know in the comments below where you'd like it to be, whether you'd go with Japan, whether you go with Australia, New Zealand, who knows.
I think I'd definitely go Australia, New Zealand if it was my choice.
I think
because I want to go, although I'm terrified of tarantulas. So
I don't just think they're casually on every corner, so you might be alright.
No, I don't think Australia or New Zealand is a place to go if you don't like insects or like snakes.
Well, I'm screwed then, aren't I, really?
You are?
I'm screwed, aren't I?
I know, not great. Anyways, let's go on to some questions.
Yeah, some questions from our lovely viewers.
Did I read them out?
Go on. No. You read.
Right, so first question is from Liverpool FC DSA. I don't know what that stands for, but cool. If you could let me know, that'd be great. Where should LFC women play next season? Back to Prenton with a new pitch, or should they look elsewhere?
That's a good question, really, because I think the remainder of our fixtures were obviously going to be at Chester. I know the next game, our next home game is definitely going to be at Chester. I think we've still got to deal with Tranmere, haven't we, to play for another season?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So if, like, you know, if obviously Tranmere have just been relegated as well, haven't they? So
yeah, this is it. So I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, that's a very good question, to be honest.
That's a very good question, especially because like they just got relegated, and I don't know how it works now. Are they going to have enough money to even keep that stadium, or?
Well, we've played there for a while, obviously, haven't we? Obviously, whether we strike up a deal with Chester, who knows? But then that just sort of like adds more fuel to the fire, and the fact that why are we travelling to Chester when it's Liverpool women? Why are you going to? It's not Chester women.
Yeah.
Women, so why are we not playing in Liverpool? It's that was the whole argument with like Everton when they were playing at Southport. That's why they went and did Walton Moor Park, because we're now based in Liverpool.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, so it's a good question. I think if we we still got Prenton, that's fine by me. The pitch looks absolutely amazing now. It's like it's a lovely stadium, you know, good facilities, so I don't see the issue with that. Chester was a really nice place as well. That was a good little stadium that we went to. So I think either of those options is fine. If another one comes up where, I mean, I don't know where else we'd be able to play that's within like a good area. Yeah.
We'll have to see what happens. It's a difficult one because so many different things are sort of dependent on it. So I don't actually know.
No.
Right. Next question is from Corey L. Davis. Who would you like to see us sign to improve the squad? We defo need a keeper and a striker. So if you were Jepson, who would you sign and why?
Yeah, I think the goalkeeper's a big one for me.
Yeah.
Because obviously both Price and Kitchen have gone now. Riley Foster's only young. I think she's got like amazing potential, but I think it'd be really harsh to just throw her straight in at the deep end as like, oh, you're on number one now. It'd be interesting. We're obviously got to be scouting goalkeepers. Like, if we're not,
well, I know. Well, interestingly, Rachel Laws just left Reading, so maybe, who knows? But I can't say I wouldn't take her as our goalie, but you know, experienced.
Yeah.
You never know.
If she's without a club, if she hasn't already got like another one lined up, then
exactly. You never know.
I just like to touch on Reading there. They got like so many players left. Like,
honestly, like I don't know, but you know who I would love, and I know she's only really young still, and she used to play. Well, yeah, she played for Sheffield United last season in the Championship, so she obviously knows how Championship goes. But I know she's too young. But that Amy Palmer, who just got released by United,
yeah,
I would love her. I don't think she will come to Liverpool, but I think she would be good. Although I do definitely think we need a striker who's quite experienced, but that would be just like a nice addition to have. But I think she's probably looking at a WSL team, unfortunately. So we'll have to.
Yeah, probably. I think we will. I think we'll be looking to invest in a few players in all different areas of the pitch. But obviously, with us now being in the Championship, it's whether players want to drop down a level or whether you just don't know. But definitely agree with the fact that we need like a keeper and probably a striker to just sort of bolster the squad a little bit.
Yeah, that is mad about Reading though, because they already lost Jade Moore to Orlando a few months ago, and now they've lost like Maz Pacheco, who was their star wing back. They've lost obviously Rachel Laws, the goalkeeper, Remy Allen, like loads of players. So we might actually see a few Reading players come to us. You never actually know.
Maybe.
So.
And obviously, Becky Niamh Fahey used to play there as well, so maybe they've got a little bit of a pull. You never know.
Well,
you never know.
Anyways, let us know who you would like to see, because your footballing brains are probably better than ours. So we'd love to know who is available and who you think might come to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Next question, we've got two more. Hibs 1001. Will the team lose many players now they've been relegated? And what is the standard of the league they will play
in? We didn't really watch much Championship last season because obviously it's not like broadcast, and we couldn't really go to any games. But it's definitely not like not a rubbish league. There's teams in that league that are like, we saw last season in our cup games, like Sheffield came and beat us. Like it was Durham. Yeah, like, it's not a league to mess about in. It is a high standard league. In terms of
mixed. I think it's quite mixed because obviously we got beat by the three that you just mentioned, but then equally we beat Blackburn like 7-8 goals twice. So, and then we beat Coventry as well. So I think it's a bit of a mix, but I think they've definitely stepped up miles in these last few years. 100%.
Definitely. In terms of will the team lose many players now? Who knows? To be honest, I think obviously Roberts extended their contract, Fahey's extended their contract. There's bound to be a few players who'll stay, and there might be a few who leave. Like, you just don't know. I think it just depends on what people want ultimately, because there will be
their contract lengths as well.
Because a lot of players would have only signed 2 years Like Christian, all the 4 players who have left were all on 2-year deals when Refuge came in, so those 2 years are up now and they just haven't been extended. Whereas, like, obviously Roberts and Fahey have extended their deal. I'm hoping there's not going to be many more departures. I'd like to think that the squad we've got now are quite happy to stay, but then also we have got some players who are capable for playing for WSL teams, so you just don't know. I think it ultimately depends on what players want to do, whether they're willing to spend a year in the Championship and hope that we come straight back up.
Yeah, it's whether they invest in the long-term plan now, I think.
Yeah,
is the issue, and I'd like to think the personality of the players that we've got, that they have that loyalty to stay and to sort of fix the problem in a way. So fingers crossed, but like hopefully we'll see more players getting pen to paper in the next few days, either extending it or just confirmation that they're committed and carrying on. But it's annoying in the women's leagues because it is only ever like 1 or 2 years. Like in the men's, you're getting like 5-year contracts left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
But in the women's, it is very, very much short term, and it's hard to plan your squad for the future with these short term contracts.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's hard to plan. It's hard to know where the clubs are going to be within like a year's time.
Yeah, honestly. So yeah, I mean, I hope not. I hope that the team will stay together.
Yeah, I really hope not.
I know, but in terms of like the Championship, I don't think we can stress enough. This is not going to be a walk in the park for Liverpool. It's really not. So hopefully we invest and we crack on with it. Really, that's all you can say about it.
Yeah. Alex Green can come back if she wants. There's Leon and their contract, are they? Do you know what I mean?
Duggan, come on, girl. Yeah, sound. Last question is from Chanzi. Do you think Liverpool will stay full-time next season in the Championship? Rumours that Leicester and London Bees are going to be full-time next season.
I do think we'll stay full-time.
Me too.
I think in terms of the money we have got money to stay full-time even if we're on the Championship. Interesting to see that Leicester and London Bees are going to be full-time next season. That's like another really good step in that's another step in a really good direction. There we go.
There you go.
Just in terms of like women's football in general and women's football in England.
I don't think it'll be long until we see the Championship as a league go full-time. I don't think it will be maybe a couple of years. I don't think it's that far off. I think in a way, it's like, as weird as this sounds, Liverpool going down and being full-time might push other teams to then go full-time. Do you know what I mean? To be in with a chance of competing at the highest level. Obviously, Leicester and London are doing that. Yeah. So it might actually push teams to do it. And you know, I think most teams are capable. Most teams do have a second sort of brother.
Yeah.
What do you call it?
Well, you're seeing the benefits of like United being full-time in the Championship. Like, they obviously had the money to do it. I think that sort of set a precedence of like where women's football in England should be. Like, no team should have to be part-time. Do you know what I mean? If you're in the top 2 divisions.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all the questions.
Yeah. That is all the questions. I was just checking then. That is all the questions that we have today. Yeah. There was obviously a few more, but they were quite similar to the ones that had already been asked.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for sending them in. I think we should probably start doing like consistently asking questions, because we kind of do it like here and there. So.
We had like a kick-off question, didn't we? And then we just
I feel like we just ran out of ideas.
Yeah, we were just like, I think we just missed it one week and then it just sort of carried on like that. So apologies for that.
But yeah, I reckon we start putting out something on social media each week before we film, and then if anyone has any that they want to, or even if you just send them us throughout the week, and we'll keep a little list together.
I'd like to check the comments on the podcast before as well, so we'll check these.
Yeah, we need to do that. Also, we've been good at replying to our comments on YouTube recently. So if you ever want to send us one, we will get back to you on it.
Also, I don't think we mentioned this last week because obviously there's a lot more going on, but we have been nominated for the FBAs this year for Best in Women's Football. So we'll leave a link in the description to the website, but then if you just go on Twitter and Instagram, and in Instagram you just have to tag us in the post as like a comment. On Twitter you have to tweet I am voting for RMTV Women's Podcast, so tag us, and tag FBAs, and then hashtag Best in Women's Football. But
we'll put it all down so you know.
It's all on our social media as well, so you can go over it and check it out there. But thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. It was a really, really nice podcast this week. It was nice.
More structured this week.
Yeah,
more structured.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel. Hello to everyone listening on Acast and Spotify. I haven't said that.
Make sure to check out all the articles going out as well with Josh and Hannah.
Yeah, definitely check them out. But yeah, we'll see you all next week with a brand new podcast. Bye.